Hey everybody, it's the Mad Master here doing another video. I know it's been a while since I've done a video, so I figured I'd throw it up on this Friday night where I'm not busy tonight, so I may as well be productive. So, I was having a debate with one of my friends the other day, and it kind of got really heated, and I know I've done videos about this before, but it was about feminism and about some of the stuff that's going on with this these allegations that are going on with all these people coming out with the Me Too thing, and I kind of felt attacked. I kind of felt like, oh my god, I'm such a scumbag. I just like, because I try to look at everything with a nuanced point of view, and it's really hard when you're accused of something or if it's insinuated about you. So I decided to do this video basically to clear the air, to try to go into depth with everything that I think about this subject that I can rattle off my head. And I didn't want to write it out. I did write out a list, but I did not going to write out everything in this video or script it at all. So it's just going to be, because it would have been, I would have been reading some stuff and then it would have gone, oh, okay, then I'm going to go off on this tangent and then I'd lose my place. So I might as well just do it this way. So I'm going to call this like, I don't know what I'm going to call it on YouTube, but this is kind of what I really believe as far as gender issues and stuff go. So let's go into this first. So what is the, okay, so what do I have against feminism? Well, it depends on what you mean. The definition, men and women should be equal, all that stuff, I agree with. And some feminists, will say, well, that makes you a feminist. I just, I don't like that perception because feminism is a very complicated subject. Academic feminism versus this type of feminism. So I'll just put it out there that academic third wave feminism I am opposed to. So I guess let's just clear that up. I'm opposed to a lot of their theories and ideas in regards to gender studies and so forth. So I'm going to go, this is going to be probably a super long video because I'm going to go into every point that I wrote down on this sheet or this thing. So first thing, objectification. It's a very complicated issue. A magazine might have an ad with models where they're literally, supposed to be chairs or some shit, like I've seen that happen a couple times. These fashion photographers, these guys are just kind of weirdos. A lot of these people, they think of themselves as artists. They're making a statement about this or irony or something, one way or the other. So in that sense, that is objectification. However, the male gaze or whatever the fuck. Okay, so this is the thing. Men scientifically have been proven to be more visual than women on some level. It's not necessarily the rule across the board. That's just the way it is. I could cite studies, there's even studies like newborn babies with regards to different things like that. A feminist might say, well, but what about this skewing the science? I'm just talking about from what I've read and what I've seen. If you want to debunk this shit, fine, go ahead. Get a feminist feminist scientist to fucking do it, the patriarchal science. So that's one of the things that bothers me about this is that there was this book, The Red Queen, I think I've talked about previously, and one of the things surprised me by Matt Ridley. He's like an evolutionary biologist, not even a psychologist, and he cites these scientists, and I was like reading it, I was like, wow, she's a woman, she said this. It's like half of them are women or more, maybe, that he cites in his book. So, and that's a lot of the basis of a lot of these theories are people like that. So is that patriarchal science? I don't know, whatever. But anyways, patriarchal science reminds me of bourgeois science, which was Lysenko, who was Stalin's agricultural minister or advisor or something. He was a scientist who was under Stalin. He kind of talked about bourgeois science versus proletariat science. So there's this Marxist element of viewing everything as social versus natural or biological. And that's one of the things that bothers me about feminism, modern feminism. And it's influenced by a lot of different types of people, postmodernists and all this stuff, and post-structuralists and all this shit. There's all this stuff that these people are influenced by. They don't even realize it. Like, if you read like a Jezebel feminist blog article, they'll start saying all these buzzwords. I'm willing to bet. I'm not trying to be, and I'm willing to bet on some end that men, when they post anything, they don't go that deep on what they're saying politically or otherwise. So I'm not saying this is because they're women. I'm saying this because people don't go deep into the roots of what they're saying. So basically, when they post some of these things, they don't know that this comes from all this tradition of all these different schools of thought and all these different principles as far as postmodernism or whatever. Some of them do, but a lot of them don't. So let's go back to the subject at hand, objectification. So I think if you literally make a woman an object, like in that example I just gave, then yeah, that's pretty shitty. Now, if you're looking at a woman sexually and you happen to see features that you like, say on the street, as long as you're not harassing them or anything, then I don't think that's a bad thing. And I don't think being sexually attracted to women for their looks is bad. No, it's not really implicit, or no, it's not explicit, but it is implicit when some of these articles come out, some of these blogs, some of these books that, oh my God, you're thinking of women as objects because you happen to you happen to think about her looks or how you're physically attracted to someone. And there's some of these bonkers fucking millennial YouTube people that say just anything, any kind of looks associated, or using looks as a basis for any sexual relationship or any part of the sexual relationship is wrong and evil. I'm not going to give names, but you probably know who I'm talking about a lot of the time. And it's just really ridiculous. So there, I think that pretty much covers that. I mean, there is a line, there's a spectrum, and I happen to lie sort of in the middle. So let's go to the next one, patriarchy theory. So anybody that wants to deny that the world is carved out by the majority white males is full of shit. I'm just going to straight up say it. I mean, that's who owns all the big corporations. That's who owns the banks and all that shit. So that's just a outright lie. Now, the problem when people bring up these blaming patriarchy or men or whatever is that they don't really put any substance to it. It's like just this invisible thing that happened to be in existence at one point in history, and they don't talk about why there's a patriarchy or what may have caused it. Maybe it's some evolutionary thing with the survival of the fittest back in before the hunter-gatherers, and they don't go into any of that shit. And I'm going to get to that later, why I think people need to look at that stuff. And so I'm just going to jump into the next one, the wage gap. The wage gap exists on an objective level. However, the reasons for it and the the intricacies of it are disputable. And that's the problem when people say one way or the other, the wage gap doesn't exist, it's a myth. I'm an MRA, MGTOW, fucking whatever. Or, on the other side, people are just fucking not looking at this in the right way. So, I mean, does a wage gap exist? It probably does on some level, but you have to look into the complexities of that. Or women choosing certain types of careers. Why do they choose those careers? Is there something biological? Is there something not biological regards to that, like with maternity leave, all that shit? So that's what I have to say about that. It's more complicated. Wrote down rape and alcohol. Well, I think it's pretty obvious. It's pretty. It's not rocket science that if a woman is blackout drunk. Oh shit, that's the wind. I thought someone was here. I'm freaking out. If a woman's blackout drunk, you should not have sex with her. I mean, that's just a given. where the problem lies, where a person may not seem as drunk as they are, or where do you draw the line with that? If both parties are drunk, is it rape? Are they raping each other? That's a common thing that people talk about. Are people raping each other at the same time? So I think it's pretty clear that if a woman is drunk, I think on a certain level, a man is drunk too. They can consent to sex. I think that's just the way history has happened. And regretful sex isn't rape. I'm sorry. I mean, people might dispute that, but regretful sex isn't rape. If you're consenting at the time, by legal definition, it is not rape. And does that mean it's right to have sex with someone you're not attracted to? I don't think it's just not the same psychological impact of rape. I mean, it kind of disqualifies. If you think that is rape, that it really does a lot of shit to the survivors of actual rape, in my opinion. There is this gray area. There's a spectrum of idea or of things that happen with that. So, no, I do not think if two people are drunk or one person is drunk, necessarily they are not giving consent. Of course, if they are blackout drunk, or I mean, another example is like drunk driving. I mean, you're busted for drunk driving, and I know this argument's been made before. You can go to prison, but if you have sex with someone that happened to supposedly consent, they could say that's rape. That's just bullshit. So it's a very complicated issue. I mean, I know there's a very huge spectrum of ideas with that. So some people have questioned why I question the whole Me Too hashtag. I didn't really do it at first. I thought that it was a good thing, in some respects, that people are doing that, women are doing that. But I could see every day there's an article, someone saying they were sexually harassed. Okay, maybe they were. But there is the potential, and this is a slippery slope argument, of course, I know, that it could turn into a witch hunt. Someone patted my ass, one day on a movie set. He's such a rapist. He was drunk and he was just joking around or whatever. He touched me on the shoulder or some shit. I just get scared that that's going to lead to that. And there's a lot of these comments I read. Any touching that's not consensual is harassment. So my whole thing with that is that what do they think? Like, I mean, it depends. It really depends. What if you're at a bar and you're talking to a woman? She gives you those indicators of interest that are pretty explicit. She doesn't say, you can touch my shoulder now, or you ask them affirmative consent, or whatever the fuck. You touch her shoulder just to get some kino, as they call it in the pickup artist community. They call it that. And that, and that escalates the situation. She gets more turned on, whatever. Is that bad? Is it bad shaking people's hands if you meet them? Is it bad touching someone's hair? Like the previous example. If you're talking to a woman, you said, "Oh, you have beautiful hair." I'm guilty as charged. Women that have turned into my girlfriends, I've done that. Well, that's kind of one of my signature moves. Other than, want to watch a movie? But anyways, it's not force. I mean, they know what the fuck's going on when they come over, and it's just one thing leads to another. They usually know what I mean by watch a movie. It's just more code. They fucking know. I mean, I don't think if anybody that I've been with, I haven't been the best person in relationships as far as some things I've done, but that's not one of the bad things I've done. Anyways, so it could turn into a witch hunt. That Val Kilmer thing was really stupid. I thought it was because I think he was method acting, and then he punched this woman, and they just to tie it into the gender thing all the time. Anytime someone's violent, it's a man against a woman. You have to make it gender thing, I was mixed on that because I think that he was really trying to method act as Jim Morrison, and then things got out of hand, of course, and it was bad, and they paid her money, but I don't know. That was just a weird thing that kind of came out, and I just think it could get a little weirder as time goes on. So, and some of these women, I mean, most of them don't have anything to gain from this. I mean, it's obvious. If Gwyneth Paltrow's last movie made billions of dollars or whoever the fuck, I don't know who. All these women are coming out and they're rich as hell. You know, they're not gonna fucking, they're not suing Harvey Weinstein, you know, as far as like for money or something like people may say in the in these those toxic comment sections. So it's pretty ridiculous. But it could be bad if it goes a certain way, in my opinion. So that's what I got to say about that. And maybe I want to have a little nuance about it. Maybe it's the whole thing, innocent until proven guilty. You know, maybe there's a little. Maybe I want to apply a little bit of that judgment on some of this. Not Harvey Weinstein, not Bill Cosby, not Bill O'Reilly, but some of these other people. Maybe there's things going on. Maybe if there's multiple accusations, obviously that's out the window. But if there's one, you know, there might be something going on. You know. So what's next? Okay, this is a controversial one. I'm going to talk about it. And I've probably talked about this in videos before. I don't give a shit. Whatever. It's been a long time. As a concept when I read these blogs about pickup artists and stuff, against pickup artists, I should say, about last minute resistance. What does that mean? So last minute resistance is this thing that these feminist bloggers always complain, it's about rape culture, talking about last minute resistance. Okay. There are certain pickup artist gurus or something that might get a little rapey. I mean, let's not beat around the bush. Some of them, especially now, some of them that come out, because I read a lot of this shit. I'll admit it. I may not be a practicing pickup artist, but I'll admit I read a lot of their material just because it's interesting to me. You know, not only because I have been interested in that whole thing. It just I find it interesting. I find these social theories and stuff interesting. So I do read a lot of this stuff. Some of the more current, ones coming out the last 5 to 7 years that are coming to prominence. Yeah, they're kind of despicable people. I'm not going to mention names. Or they lean towards some weird stuff, the cavemanning as they call it, or just like being aggressive too much. And that's not really what the original people were about, but that's a debate for another time. Let's just talk about the last minute resistance thing. So last minute resistance to me, and this has happened to me a couple times too, is let's say a woman is not very sexually experienced. And you have her in bed, you're already really close to having sex, right? And all of a sudden she says no. And a certain family member, and maybe this is because it's patriarchal, old-fashioned values, I don't know, whatever. Anyways, a certain family member has told me, oh, okay, well, you could just say, basically, you amplify the attraction. You say something like, oh, well, I just like being here with you or something, There's a lot of different ways to do it. Last minute resistance is like them saying no when you're about to go at it. And there's a lot of different reasons for it. They don't even talk about a lot of times people don't talk about the reasons. Pickup artists, honestly, oversimplify it. But let's say, so last minute resistance is just, overcoming last minute resistance, I should say, is not rape. It's amplifying her sexual mood or her sexual state to have sex. That's all it is. I mean, that's not all it is. I mean, there's people who've been say do this or do that. But that, to me, that's what that means. Or that's overcoming last minute resistance. Now, the methods to do it, some of them might be questionable, some of them might be not. Like mystery method, he's like, do the freeze out. You go play with your laptop for 5 minutes and then just ignore her. It's like fucking. That's just fucking stupid. Okay, let's not be total assholes all the time. Maybe it worked. It worked for him, obviously, but I don't know. It's kind of fucked up. That's a little bit passive aggressive. But the basic concept of overcoming last minute resistance, that's all I'm trying to say, is about amplifying the sexual mood. So I'm done with that. Now, what's the next thing? Approaching women on the street versus street harassment. So I was having this argument with my friend about approaching women and how it could be harassment if you approach the wrong woman or a woman doesn't want you to approach her. So I just think of it as like this. Okay, there's people begging for change on the street Are they harassing you for change, or are they begging for change, or are they asking you for change? All right. Well, they're asking you. I don't think they're harassing you. If they're harassing you, they'll follow you like, I need money now. Oh, please, please. You know, that's what happens. So that's simple. That's pretty fucking simple. I just came up with this right now because I hadn't thought this one through yet. Street harassment is more like, hey, baby, you got some big fucking melons there. Oh, you know, it's like just totally clueless. And in the pickup artist community, those guys are seen as clueless. They're seen as people that don't have any game. That's the thing. So, I mean, they might be sort of alpha in this sort of roundabout way because they're direct, as they call it. Fucking your quotation marks are so annoying. But yeah, they're not guys that are really good. I mean, you can go direct, as they call it, but it's not really the most popular idea necessarily as far as how those guys do it. So I don't think it's harassment. I think approaching women you don't know is essential if you work at a place where most of the people are married. You don't go to bars much. You don't have a lot. You have a busy schedule. You know, maybe you want to meet a girl at the supermarket. You know, I mean, maybe it's weird, but you know, it works for a lot of people. So that's what I think about that. That's the end of the subject, pretty much with the metaphor with the homeless person asking for change. I think that's pretty much where I believe. So let's see, what else is there? Abortion. Well, I have met women that seem to have this like callous attitude towards abortion, and I don't know if it was being defensive over right wingers' insistence on banning abortion, or if it was just more of just this like, oh my God, man, abortions, you know, I don't care. I'm going to have abortions anytime I want. I have met some women like that. And it's kind of like, well, I don't know. It's just kind of immature, you know? And does that mean I don't believe in abortion? No, of course I believe I'm pro-choice. But the whole thing about late-term abortions, sometimes the argument from the other side, the right-wing side, they kind of make some points that are usually investigated like, oh, that's bullshit. But sometimes they have some convincing arguments. So as far as late-term abortions, I don't believe after a certain point, if the fetus is viable and there's no good reason, what I mean is like, it's just literally birth control. I don't think I question that. I don't know, you know, I question that. I don't think it happens too often, but that's one of the things. So anyways, that's all I got to say about abortion. All right, gender and transgender. This one is really, really hot right now. I mean, the whole debate. So, I put it simply. So I think there are, you know, feminists say gender is a social construct. Okay, that's bullshit. There is this conflux of where gender goes and sexuality goes. You know, where do they go? It's a very complicated subject. So I don't think we know yet. Obviously, we don't fucking know if we're having all these debates. We don't know what's gender, what's innate, what's nature versus nurture. We don't 100% have a clue. Until we do, or even if we do, even if we did, it's a person's choice if they want to change their gender or whatnot. And these bathroom bans only hurt homely women. Let's just face it. I mean, North Carolina transgender ban of bathrooms. Oh, that must be a transgender folk right there. You know, and she's a woman. She's just like old or homely or whatever the fuck, or ugly. I mean, that's fucking stupid. Okay, she's a woman. All right, she's not transgendered. The people that really pass, I mean, transgendered women probably want to pass. You know, a lot of them want to pass even more as women than, you know, some middle-aged woman that go into a bathroom. So it's only going to hurt women to have the transgender bathroom ban, and already has. I've read about these cases like in North Carolina. It was just so fucking stupid. I was just like, oh my god, this is so dumb. Now, where I do draw the line with the transgender thing there's two things, because I'm a little bit more of a moderate on some of these ideas. I would never date a transgender person because there's just something that I like a natural woman. And maybe in the future technology you won't tell the difference. Who knows? But right now that's my thing. And I also still harbor the possibility of having children, even if half the children, I mean, half the women where I live that are around my age and single don't want any more children, or don't want children a lot of the time. So that's another thing. I'm not attracted to the whole thing. It's just there's something. I guess it's like when you can see someone's Adam's apple and they look you can kind of tell that they were a man. It's just something that just doesn't interest me, and I don't know if that's. I know a lot of people think that's bigoted, but that's just the way it is. I mean, go do what you want to do, you know. So that's what I think about that. Another thing with the transgender thing is I don't know about how, where you draw the line of how young person gets hormones. I think that should be explored. We should talk about that. We should be able to talk about it. No, absolutely. 3-year-old should be able to choose their gender. No, it's absolute. It's bigotry. No, fucking, a teenage, preteen. Yeah, as they're going through puberty, the onset of puberty, I understand. Okay, they're like, oh yeah, I'm really a woman. Blah blah blah. That's fine. That's good. But before that, that's a little questionable. That probably puts off some people, but that's fine. That's how I think about it. I did that video way back because one of my Facebook friends did some really horrific. He was sharing some really horrific memes about transgender people. I was just like, oh my god, this is so fucking stupid. So I just said, fuck you. It was a bigot. I mean, that's a bigot. I mean, I guess I'm a bigot, to some, but this guy was a fucking, oh man. But anyways, enough about that motherfucker. Next one. Okay, the last one. Pickup artists. So, yeah. So I think the whole thing about pickup artists, pickup artistry, or whatever you want to call it, the seduction community, is something that comes from the self-help, self-esteem / new age movement. That's just the fact. A lot of the people were associated with neuro-linguistic programming in the beginning. It's basically out of that. And what is it? Why is it there? Well, there is a imbalance. So this is another thing that might be controversial to feminists and stuff, but men have to do all the work a lot of the time until the day comes where women are, and I don't know if this is another nature versus nurture. Are women naturally passive as far as pursuing sexual relations with the opposite sex, or are they, somewhere in the middle or wherever? So until the day comes where feminism triumphs and champions the idea of women being aggressive, and there's a lot of stuff because women are victims. So they're in their narrative and their state of mind that women are victims, so they have to be protected on some level. So women aren't going to go out and try to have sex with men, blah blah blah, right? That's just in their heads. That women are victims. So it is true on some level, but until that moment comes where there is this equality between the sexes or genders, whatever, there is an imbalance, especially now. I think more now, and that the now, as far as why there's an imbalance between men having to, pursue women more, is because, there's less arranged marriages, there's more divorces. So men don't grow up, whether or not you believe in masculinity or you believe in, or heterosexual cis men, I should say, don't grow up, whether you believe in these masculine ideas or not, whether you think some of them are toxic masculinity. I'm so sick of hearing about that. I mean, some of it is toxic, okay? So whether or not you believe in that or not, they are growing up with single mothers, like the Fight Club talks about that, controversially, whether or not it's ironic or whatever, I don't know. So men grow up with single mothers. They don't know really how to interact, and they play video games. They're isolated a lot more, and interact with the opposite sex, so they don't learn how to do normal stuff people are doing, and that I speak to that because I did not know that sometimes a girl teasing you meant that she liked you a little bit. Growing up, I didn't know that that was a thing. I didn't know, you know, what flirting was. And, you know, I don't think I have autism, but, you know, it's debatable. You know, some of these guys do definitely have autism or Asperger's or whatever. So what do you do? What do you do if you haven't had a girlfriend in 5 years? What do you do if you've never had a girlfriend? What do you do if you are a virgin? What if you've only had two girlfriends and haven't had sex in 7 years? Um, what if, you know, people take relationships for granted. They think, oh, these men are so terrible for learning this stuff. Well, they're fucking on their last legs. Men are more sexual, you know, more sexually aggressive than women. So if you're fucking hitting this wall or Rosie Palm, and you know, the Rosie Palm over and over again, what are you gonna do? So you read about this stuff, this pickups artist stuff, and you're like, oh, it could cure every ailment I have in life, my social anxiety, whatever. So you start reading about it, you're sucked in, and you know, some of it's scams, some of it's bullshit, some of it's truth. So my whole view on pickup artist stuff or seduction community is that I think it's good. Um, is some of it bad? Yeah, of course. Some of it's shitty. Does it contribute to society in a bad way? Well, ask people that have learned that shit and gotten married from it. You know, ask people that are successful in a more ethical way with it. You know, if it's bad. You know, I mean, I guess I could have gone the normal route if in the beginning shit was normal, and it never was. So learning about the pickup artist stuff, learning basically like with the pickup artist stuff, I think mainly what it made me learn is that a lot of these things are myths. Um, I want to boil it down to a couple of things. So, for example, uh, well, there's the whole thing. Women like sex just as much as men. I mean, that wasn't me necessarily. I didn't buy into that. But you know, growing up, I knew some girls that were a little more loose sexually, and you know, I used to criticize them, and I used to be like, "Oh, that's so terrible." Now I'm just like, well, they're just living their life, you know, and that's probably a result of learning about the seduction stuff, community stuff. I mean, ironically, that's kind of in there. Like, well, women are sexual. Oh, that's so terrible, you know. So ironically, that's more feminist than if anything. Another thing that I learned from reading some of that stuff is that there's a lot of people that say, "Oh, sit around on your ass, wait around. You'll meet someone one day. You'll find someone. You'll find someone." I remember a certain family member after I went to this roller skating rink when I was in middle school, early middle school, I think, sixth grade, and she said, "Oh, you'll meet someone. You'll meet someone," because I got rejected on the dance floor. And it was, you know, it was a comforting thought, but did I do it? Oh, I thought basically the message to me was, don't think about it. You'll meet someone. It didn't happen. I mean, I had to work hard for my first girlfriend. I had to ask people, "Oh, do you know someone that's single?" Blah blah blah. It was a setup through family members and their friends, but you know, that was my first girlfriend, and I had to put that out there, you know, that I was looking for someone. It wasn't just you'll meet some, or you'll seem desperate if you're looking for someone. You'll there's these fucking just stupid things, like it's almost like an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Fucking stupid like nursery rhyme, like folk tale bullshit things people say, like if you don't look, oh, you'll find someone when you stop looking. Yeah, 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 yeah. I did find Rosie Palm a lot of times when I stopped looking, but and her five sisters for that matter. Hate to be blunt, but um, so yeah, I mean that's one of the things when you really look at it, you think about you know, you have to have a critical mind and a critical way of thinking when you're looking at some of this stuff. Like you're watching some of these guys are fucking ridiculous, do some ridiculous shit. But overall, is their message? What is the message? So the message is fucking take action. I mean, if anything, that's the main thing that I've learned from all that stuff. It's like you have to take action. You have to meet people. You have to meet women. You have to go out there and challenge yourself. You know, even online. Like I was online 2 or 3 years on online dating back in the day, and I was like, I'm not getting anywhere with this. But I wasn't, I was just fucking doing stupid shit. Then I was just like, no, I'm gonna get somewhere with this. And went crazy on it. A month or two later, I got I was with a girl. So it's like, it's just one of those things. That's one of those things that, controversially, that's the truth. I mean, I've known people that have read one page, literally one page, out of a pickup, one of those stupid pickup artist books. Okay, I think they're stupid, but I like them. Some of them, it's like, I mean, am I going to criticize a woman for liking Cosmopolitan? No, or some of these stupid magazines that say all this superficial shit. Well, don't fucking criticize me for reading some pickup artist shit. Fuck you, If I'm not fucking sexually harassing anybody or, just using people, then what the fuck business is it of yours, So anyways, before I got defensive there, I was saying that, I've known people that have taken one page and made this one page out of this book. It was, what was it? Some kind of How to Meet Girls book. Has a black cover, Copeland. I forgot what it was. So I showed it to my friend back in the day. He reads this one page. He's like, oh, wait a second. I never thought about this. So he starts fucking going out there and just, made his whole career out of that, So, I mean, yeah, these things are controversial and stuff. And, I don't believe in the large sums of money that they sell for some of these programs. It's just fucking ridiculous. And, some of the stuff you can get, illicitly, obviously. And, that in the past, people do that. And I kind of support doing it, more of that in some ways sometimes. But I have bought some products too. I have gone beyond the free stuff, online that they give away. But I don't know. It's one of those things that is a bone of contention to a lot of people. A lot of women don't believe that you should. They have this idea that people need to like just be natural and all this stuff, and the whole thing's like you can't learn. Everything is, if you want to look at a certain point, back to the nature versus nurture. A lot of our behaviors are nurture, are habits that we form. So to them, some geek, dork, fucking whatever, the concept of him becoming this like asshole sort of suave guy is threatening because people are threatened by that stuff. And I'm not going to go into the psychology of why, but that's what people are threatened by. So overall, this has probably been the longest segment of this. Pickup artists, big R, seduction community stuff. I'm pro with a grain of salt. So, oh, wow, that was a lot. So what else do I believe as far as the feminism and stuff? Oh, so I was going to get to this. So as far as nature versus nurture, it is very complicated and a very complicated subject to go into. But the thing that bothers me about a lot of modern feminists is that they will not explain things a lot of the time, like theories and stuff, and they expect you to know what the hell they're talking about. So a lot of people on the right, or whatever you want to call it, or the reactionary right, or even a lot of people on the left, because I'm on the left, will read something and be like, what the fuck are they talking about, or why are they attacking this person? Like, and it's like these social theories, people are not like in sync with all this stuff all the time. I've read a lot of stuff, so that's why I know a lot of the time what they're talking about now, because I've tried to read all this shit. But a lot of people won't, so they'll be like, "Oh man, that's sexist against men." They'll be on the opposite end instead of trying to understand what they're trying to say. But to be fair, a lot of feminists are just always on the attack and defensive about stuff and won't go into the nuanced details. And then when they do, they're still attacked by people. Like, for example, there's Anna Kasparian of the Young Turks, who's been called this bitch feminist by trolls and commenters. And I'm just like, she actually defended some of the men in the street harassment video from years ago. So I'm just like, I'm jumping to her defense because she actually has some nuance, but still they get attacked. So it's very fucked up in our culture and our society. Where do I lie in the culture war though with feminism? Well, the problem I have is making everything part of that narrative without looking at other facts. And another thing about the biology versus, nature versus nurture or whatever. Nature versus nurture. So why do we need to look at why things are biological? Well, let's look at this. So basically, let's say you're trying to decrease male aggression, okay? Let's say there's this thing called male aggression, right? It causes crime. I'm just saying, like, I'm not talking about any specific study or anything like that. You know, I'm just doing this hypothetical thought experiment. So, a feminist will be like, "Oh, he must have learned that from his father because he's part of the patriarchy and blah blah blah." The reason why we need to look at hormones, neurology, genetic influences is because we can stem some of the bad things even more by looking at all that stuff. It's not an excuse to do bad shit. It's actually scientifically and medically beneficial to not only look at nurture. So let's say this example of male aggression. So, oh well, he has to get his aggression out because okay, well we can do like more martial arts programs in schools or something like that. Instead of saying it's just the evil patriarchal, blah, blah, blah. He has to take a class where he has to learn to be respectful to women, blah blah blah, or something like that. It's not going to work because men might be, and I'm not saying they are, might be more prone to something because of hormones and brain chemistry and shit. So that's why we have to look at nature, not because, oh well, men are rapists anyway, so I'm just gonna harass, pinch butts every club I go to. No, it's not like that. It's because going into problems and trying to solve them, we need to look at both sides. That's the fucking fact. I don't care what feminists say. They can fucking play with these words and these fucking buzzwords all day, but that's the truth. So that was basically what I wanted to say in this video, which has gone on 42 minutes. Anyways, that's all. Please like and please subscribe. Tell me what you think. And I will talk to you later.